Center worldwide, where we believe there is a power for good in the universe greater than we are, and we are using it. This morning we kept our divine appointment on the very first Sunday of the new year, and I acknowledge each and every one of you. Our viewing audience, you tuned in not by chance but by divine appointment. We're here together on this amazing day. We're going to talk about Aladdin's Lamp. I believe that there is an archetype which is the magician that we all can tap into. Every time we've let our ego go, every time we've let our judgments go, every time that critical part of us that wants to jump in, every time we let that go, we are accessing a higher power. The magician has that within them that can transform the routines of work into celebrations of life and love. This is how our inner magician works. It moves through the appearances, the conditions, and effects. It moves to why it can't be done. And it opens to the possibility of life. Emily Dickinson, a beautiful American poet, has said, "I dwell in possibility. I dwell in possibility. I dwell in that place of the secret of the universe, the secret place of the Most High, that I choose to call God." We can call it our higher power, anything we want. But to know that there is a power within us that is greater than we are, and we access it every single day of our lives. Or we don't. It's there for us. It's an amazing process to be in this way of life. And there was a time that if you were not feeling your best or you had things going on that people would say, "Oh, I wonder what's in their consciousness, that they're feeling this way." Well, we cleanse, we purify, we harmonize, we balance, we attune, we heighten this mechanism. This body is the temple of the living God. And as we let go of what no longer serves us, that Christ consciousness can arise, triumphant and victorious, just as we say in what we believe, that as our humanness gives way to the divine, the Christ consciousness arises, triumphant and victorious. So today, on the year of our Lord, the first Sunday of the year, we have the lamp. We are Aladdin. We have a conscious mind. And as we rub the lamp, and it's so interesting, remember Aladdin thought he was royalty. He was this little beggarly figure, and he wanted riches, and he wanted the princess, and he wanted jewels and gems and palaces and all of it. And what did the genie say that represents our subconscious mind? "Your wish is my command." You see, the subconscious mind always says yes. It's so wonderful how that happens. When my son-in-law gave me a surprise gift of going to Park City Ski Resort for New Year's Eve for the night. So we all piled in the car and we went up to Park City, and of course it's 8 degrees below, but we're all in our snow gear. And for me, I'm going, "Oh, it's just so beautiful, it's so wonderful." And to wake up Christmas morning, and one day it's nothing, and the next day it's white everywhere, to look out the window and see this pristine, this energy. It was magical. It was just so magical. And my little grandson on Christmas morning came running in and said, Mima, it snowed. It snowed. And I said, "Yes, it's so magical. We give thanks. Thank you, God, that it snowed. And we can look out this window and be warm inside. Isn't that wonderful?" And when we went to Park City, I took him to a geology shop. And there was this great big tray of stones. Every color of stone, every shape, every size of stone. And then they had little bags, and you could fill the bag up with stones for a set price and get as many in the bag as you could. I like the larger stones, so I only got 3 in my little bag. He got one for himself and one for Mommy. He got a blue one for Mommy and a green one for Daddy that looked like a frog. And I said, "Oh, in the ancient Chinese, a frog is prosperity. Oh, that's good luck." And he got a silverish amber one for himself, and he was just so excited. And I said, "Look at all the shapes, the sizes, the colors." And we ran our hand through the stones. I said, "Just like people, right? All shapes, sizes, and color, each are unique. beautiful in their way, that to judge any stone from the other is a mistake. To judge one person or another is a mistake. Because we are all family. We are all part of the body of God. Through that energy of Christ consciousness, the Buddha nature, the holy I am presence, whatever we choose to embody in that realm of higher power, whatever resonates at the heart chakra for us. To run our hands to this thing called life and to realize that there is that unity in diversity, that each stone was put through the fires just as we go through our own fire walk and come out on the other side, what? Purified, harmonized, balanced, and attuned. We all go through our fire walk, each and every one of us. When my daughter was 14 years old, she forged my signature so that she could go to the Tony Robbins fire walk. She and her girlfriend and her girlfriend's mother, who didn't tell me either. Not that I would have, forbade it. I would have just liked to have been there. Maybe, your child's walking through, coals. These hot coals and fire. And so she wanted to do it a second time. So she thought maybe she would mention it to me. And she said she went up to Tony, and she had like a tiny speck of like if a match falls on you, that kind of a speck, and you kind of bubble up on her foot. And he said, that's the evidence the ego needs that you did it. Because what happens with the ego is that we always need evidence that we're doing these things. So she wanted to do it a second time. And they were doing things like looking at spoons and bending them. And we were at a restaurant. The spoon went over. I said, do not try that at my table, please. However, I was in awe that at that age, focus your energy. And if you can bend a spoon, then you can absolutely transform your life, right? If you can walk the coals and come out on the other side, you can transform the quality of your life in a major way. This is why he did those fire walks. And they had casualties as well. And it's so interesting how that happens, that the ones that really want to go to the other side of their fear, remember that fear is false evidence appearing real, that the Course in Miracles states that, love and fear cannot occupy the same space. We're either in love, love waits on welcome, not on time, that the moment we feel it, it's a given. So energetically, we do these things to come out on the other side. So Aladdin had to go through his own process of becoming more conscious, that it just wasn't about the stuff. And yes, material things are very nice. And, we like to experience them. And I love handmade things. I always find my way to the Tibetan shops. Wherever I am in the world, my son-in-law said, oh, there's a Tibetan shop. I know you'd really love it. I said, I just knew there had to be one here in Salt Lake City somewhere. You look hard enough. And so I went in and I went, oh, the energy, it's just so wonderful. I love this energy. Feels so good in here. And then the owner was behind the counter and he said, oh, I'm so glad that you like this energy. And I said, I love it. I said, wherever I am in the world, I always find the Tibetan shop. And so he had some handmade things, and I was admiring everything. And he said, I worked for the Dalai Lama for 15 years in India. I said, I didn't know that, but I certainly can believe that. How wonderful. Tell me about it. I said, I know it's a different experience when you work for someone, but to be in that energy, did you feel that spirituality? He said, I felt it every day. I felt it every day, and I worked hard. And when it was time to move on after 15 years, I did move on. I said, what brought you to Salt Lake, the city, being a Tibetan Buddhist? I said, Utah, what brought you here? And he said, a friend of his lived there and said it was a wonderful place to raise children. I said, well, how brave of you, oh Tibetan Buddhist, that you would move to Salt Lake City, Utah, bringing this energy with you. And his wife made all the clothes, and they're, the kind of funky clothes that you like, and you can do pet blessings in. And there they were, and so she came in, and I met the wife, and we took pictures, and it was just so much fun to be in that energy. But also to know that when we have a calling, I mean, here he was in India and made it to Salt Lake City, Utah. We're here. Many of us never envisioned coming to Palm Springs, but yet we were called. Beyond our reason at times, we were called. We showed up. Here we are. And as we acknowledge individually the opportunity that we have this new year to walk our own inner labyrinth, to come to the center, to experience the energy of life. I met a man that said that he was contemplating, he and his wife wanted to adopt a child, and that the adoption agency wrote and said, well, this darling baby that was just born has only one finger on each hand and one toe on each foot, but this baby is precious. And he said he'd heard this amazing motivational talk by someone who had one digit on each hand and one digit on each toe. And that he called, and the secretary gave him a number, and the number was disconnected, so he called information. He got the number, and he said, is this the home of Roger Crothers, is the motivational speaker? And he said, this is his mother. And he said it was so perfect because I could say we were contemplating adopting this little baby girl. And she's handicapped. And the mother said, no, she isn't. She's just different. And began to share the joy of this son that had only one digit on each hand, one digit on each foot. And what a joy. And then she mentioned that he had won, when he was 5 years old, the art contest in his school with one digit on each hand. That he didn't allow that so-called handicap, that limitation, to stop him from living out his own destiny, from living out his own life. And that when we opened to the universe, and he said it was just what he needed. And so he and his wife adopted this baby girl who had become the joy of their life. So when we judge by appearance, we don't judge righteously. What that means, judge righteous judgments, see the love, see through the experience, see through the appearance. See through the appearance of someone blowing up at you. I was sharing earlier that when I went to the Camelot Theater and I get up at 4 a.m. on Sunday mornings, I decided to make flyers because I didn't know if anyone thought of it, to give to people that were at the leisure center. So I'm making flyers very in the wee hours, and I go to the Camelot and I'm hugging Matt Christensen, who's the manager, and we're saying Happy New Year, and I'm putting these wonderful flyers on the doors, and then I put them on the box office window, and a woman said, do you have permission to do this? I said, oh, I didn't know I needed permission. And she goes, yes. You need to contact the person at the film festival in charge, and then I'm in charge of this. And so you need permission. I said, well, I'm sure someone called. And she goes, well, no one notified me. She rips them off. I've already taped them on very neatly. She ripped them off. And I was sharing earlier that in that moment I had so much compassion for her. That remember that nothing is personal in life. That she's experiencing stress of being in charge. And so, kind of a power trip in one way when you rip something off the window, and I just said, well, what you can do is if somebody does ask, where is Interfaith? You can say, right up the street at the leisure center. And she said, yes. And I said, yes, and I'm the minister. And she went, kind of like, oh, I didn't know she was the minister. Dressed like this. But I said, yes, and we've been meeting here for, 15 years, including the former spiritual leader. And I just went on my way, and I thought, it's such a beautiful day. It's such an amazing opportunity to practice this way of life, not taking things personally, because it's never personal. It shared much more about her than it did me. Now, if I've got not feeling good about myself that day, I may react. We react. I have a friend who says, I shoot from the hip, and sometimes I have to clean it up later. So we do that. We forgive ourselves, and we move on. And as we come together, acknowledging, we're rubbing the lamp. What is it that we really want in our lives? That genie is within us. It arises and says, your wish is my command. What is it? You want riches and palaces and all of this? That's a byproduct of consciousness, isn't it? It's a byproduct of consciousness. It's wonderful to feel the flow of life. It's wonderful to be in the abundance and to be open to the stream of energy that flows in to our life. It's wonderful to accept our good and our unexpected good. It's great to be in the world but not of it, and to experience all of it. And when people say, you can have it all, I believe you can. We focus our attention on where it is that we want to express. We want more spirituality, we meditate more. We study, we go within to the secret place of the Most High. We pray to our Father, Mother, God in secret. And we are acknowledged openly by the outward demonstrations of our lives. There was a friend of mine on Facebook, her name is Pam Smith, and I just love her. She's feisty and she's gutsy. And I told her, you know, I'm nominating you for the Gutsy Gal Award. Don't laugh. I've received it. It's a women's organization in Santa Barbara, and they give out these Gutsy Gal Awards. And so we had a good laugh, and she was sharing that a man came to her door with flowers. And they were the most beautiful bouquet of flowers she'd ever seen. And she said, gosh, I dated someone last week. Maybe it's from them. Well, maybe it's from, one of my kids. She's going through this whole thing from, maybe it's this one, maybe it's that one. Oh, they were so beautiful. And she took them up. And the young man from the florist shop said, these are for your next door neighbor. Would you mind keeping them for her until she gets home? Oh my God. They're not for me? Oh dear. She goes, I was just like this thud. From one moment being ecstatic to the universe, God is so good, to what? The next door neighbor? Oh my goodness. And then she thought, of course, I'll keep them and I'll enjoy them until she gets home. And her neighbor got home the next day. She got a whole day of enjoying flowers and the fragrance and the energy and the wonder of it all. I'd been wanting flowers, and I went out the next day and bought myself some flowers for me. We don't have to wait for the universe to knock at our door and deliver them. We can actually take action, put the works of the faith, get them for ourselves, because the best relationship that we have is with ourselves. Your wish is my command, says the genie. Let us open today to really acknowledge what it is that we want to actualize in our life. And as we open that energy up, let's be prepared to receive it. Pressed down, shaken together, and flowing over into every area of our life. And we move from where we are to where? Going higher yet. Where are we going? Higher yet. Where are we going? Higher yet. Happy New Year!